Alright, people, we're good to go. This is still the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, the first of the two games on the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles on the Nintendo Switch. This is gonna be part 3. We're on the second case now. What was it, the name of this one again? The Adventure of the Unbreakable Speckled Band. Yeah, there we go. Okay, still on part 1. No need to say it again, since I had left the game on sleep mode since last night. Hold on a second. Yo, RNG, how's it going today? How have you been? Pardon me. Okay, so we had to resume our investigation in this room before moving to the next cabin, as I recall. Okay, is there anything new? It's good? Alright then. Awesome. Okay, where the body was. Nothing about the lamp, nothing about the lamp. You will have to leave for work soon. Ah, okay. You're not on night shift anymore? Excuse me. What? I was wondering if I could ask you a favor. Would you mind if I investigated a little outside? Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes, but it is not true, I see. Sorry, the criminal asking prison guard to help him escape. Very funny. We're in the middle of the sea. There's no chance of me escaping. Yet. You're on midday shift now. They keep changing it for you. You stay in this cabin until next port. Then it is up to Hong Kong police to decide what they do with you. You stay. Alright. There's no point trying to appeal to this man's better nature, that's for sure. When I went for help and the crewman forced the door open, this bolt had been firmly closed. It's quite a small bolt and not particularly sturdy, and it just slides across to secure the door shut. But still, with the door bolted, there would be no way to get in or out of the cabin, that's for sure. It's no wonder everyone suspects me. When she glares at me like that, I feel tense all up and down my spine. I remember reading once in a detective novel, the culprit used a needle and thread to draw a bolt across from outside the room in a situation like this. Yes, that's a clever trick, isn't it? I'm an avid reader of detective stories myself, but the door of this cabin and its frame are made of metal and they seal together perfectly. There would be no possibility of using that needle and thread trick here, I'm afraid. Don't look at me like that! When she glares at me like that, I feel pins and needles all up and down my spine. Ah, who's this? Oh, look over there. The crewman, do you mean? He wasn't there before, was he? Is a side view like that reminds me of the waiter in the previous case, right? Plus, he's got his arm in the same position and everything as if he was carrying around what? Not a towel. How do you say that? Not sure. The crewman, do you mean? He wasn't there before, was he? That's what I thought. He's undercover again, I bet. Why don't we try talking to him? Probably because I'm likely to get yelled at again. But I suppose I could try. What was his name again? Osonaga? Or something like that? Is that... Is something wrong? Naruhodo-san. Oh, no, it's just that crewman standing by the door. I can't help feeling like I've seen him somewhere before. Hey, society guy, bruv, I was gonna be mad at you today. What for? What for, bruv? Oh, yes, you're right. He does look familiar. Excuse me, sir. I 100% thought today was Saturday, and I woke up thinking that you just cancelled the stream out of nowhere. Nope, wrong day, I'm afraid. Yes, what can I do for you? It's him, yeah, well, I knew it. Hosonaga, what are you doing here? I recognize that face, but it can't be. I woke up at 7. Alright, let's watch some Rudy, but no. He still has tuberculosis. It is! I didn't know you were here, Inspector Osanaga. Found out today was Friday, like 20 minutes ago. Hello again. What are you doing here? I think that should be my line. I was so stunned when I saw you, my heart stopped. Nearly stopped, I hope. I received some special orders to go undercover as a member of the crew and board this ship. Again? You certainly seem to enjoy undercover work, Inspector. If there's anything I can do to help you, please ask. I never expected to see this man on board, but perhaps his presence can help me out of this hopeless situation. Hello, Monica. How's it going? How was your day? Me, I'm good. I spent most of the afternoon napping because I didn't want to be yawning all evening today again. I hadn't slept well last night again, and I still feel a bit tired. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel tired all the time. But I'm good otherwise, though. Perhaps his presence can help me out of this hopeless situation. You're kinda dying? Not completely, but just kinda? What's happening? So what are your special orders this time, Inspector? Yes, and why are you dressed as a member of the crew? Been yawning a bunch too for the past week. Need painkillers and sleep? Ah, you. Painkillers what for? Headache? Headache can come from lack of sleep, so, I mean, I certainly know that I get those when I lack sleep. I'm so sorry, This is all my fault. I take full responsibility. For what? Smoke some pot and take a nap? My orders were to act as Asogi-san's bodyguard. It was Minister of Justice Jigoku who pushed for this overseas study tour to go ahead. Jigoku, that means hell in Japanese, no? Tengoku to Jigoku, yeah, heaven and hell, yeah, I think that's what it means. Feels like the start of a migraine. Need to get some quick... Ah, well, please certainly do go ahead and do that then, yeah. And he entrusted me with ensuring that Asogi-san reached Great Britain without being assassinated, but there were suspicions already that he might get assassinated then? Assassinated? How? How could that even have been a possibility? Yeah. My thoughts exactly. I'm not sure. But these are complicated times. There are tensions between the world's greatest powers. Minister Jigoku said we should be prepared for all eventualities. This is incredible. I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama was assassinated? Obviously, we couldn't give Asogi-san a visible security escort. Which is why I'm undercover now, posing as one of the crew. I see. And I didn't take my eyes off him the entire time we've been on board, from morning until night, every day. Except for that one moment. But I never imagined it would happen here inside his own cabin, not here on the first-class deck. I failed miserably at my assignment, and Asogi-san is dead as a result. I mean, I'm also making food. Ah, okay. I'm a disgrace. All I can do is humbly apologize. Inspector... So if there's anything at all that I can do to help now, just say the word. Well, help me out of here. Permission to investigate. We're doing what we can to investigate Kazuma's death ourselves. I thought you might be. You didn't do it, did you? You're not the killer. Of course not! We'd really like to investigate the cabin next door. Yes, so we need to be allowed out of this cabin. Make some egg fried rice. It usually helps to make my headaches worse. That's not a very nice thing to suggest then. I'm sorry, what? You've been deemed a risk to the ship's safety. If you moved to even touch the handle of the cabin door... That stormy-looking seaman there would surely snap your neck in two. I suppose I'm not just a stowaway now. They think I'm a murderer as well. Would it be possible to give me something to work with, do you think? I'm going to need something persuasive. What do you mean? If I had a solid reason why the next door cabin shouldn't be investigated, for example, I'd do everything I could to persuade the captain to allow it. Really, I'd lay my life on the line if I had to. But I don't see how. There may be a way. What? Really? Think of how you tried to persuade me of your innocence, Naruhodo-san. By presenting me with a piece of evidence that you already had in your possession. Evidence? It's just the same as when you are in court. You must have done it many times during your trial. Simply select the present panel. Yeah, we're in tutorial territory again. Still. And choose some evidence that Inspector Osanaga could use. Hello, Summerfish. How's it going today? So, evidence that would give us a viable reason to investigate the next door cabin, is it? Alright, yes. I think I might know what we can use. Let's see if I can present the detective with evidence he needs to persuade the captain. But not like that, right? It's a different panel. Yeah. Maybe the diary? The Russian word for wardrobe in purple ink. It would appear to have been written in the victim's final moments. What's that? It's Kazuma's diary. Just before he died, Kazuma-sama wrote something rather strange in his diary. Strange? In what way? He wrote, what looks like some kind of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? That is strange. Yes, we're still trying to work out what he meant by that, but what I'd like to know is... Don't tell me. The ventilator, is it? You're very astute, Inspector. That ventilator clearly joins to the next door cabin. That's right. So if we could investigate in there, we might be able to work out what the speckled band was. Alright then. I can't leave this cabin at the moment. I'm stuck here until we arrive at the next port. The captain has given me strict orders to guard the scene of the crime, you see. I'll have to entrust the investigation to you. Really? You're willing to do that? Yes, as long as you don't leave the first-class cabin area. I'm afraid I can't remove those handcuffs, though. But what about the captain? Aren't you going against his direct orders? I'm a man of my word. Yeah, I think the speculations that he must have tuberculosis ring true. I mean, he has the symptoms, and it would have been a disease that would have been common in those days. Because a lot of people had tuberculosis back in those days. I promise you that I'll lay my life on the line if that's what it takes to convince the captain. After all, I failed to keep Asoki-san safe. This is the least I can do. Thank you. Let's seize the moment then, Naruhodo-san. Just select move and we can leave this cabin at last. Move. Alright, let's see what we can find out. What's that on the ground there? A mousetrap? Phew, I'm finally out of that cabin. I have to admit, this isn't quite what I was expecting. It's less spacious out here than I thought it would be, and this is the most luxurious accommodation. Yes, indeed. Kazuma-sama was being sent on this study tour by the government. That's why he was being put up in a first-class cabin. Even still, this is about twice as large as my accommodation in steerage. Really? That must be awful. Oh, look over there. That's another crewman keeping watch. And he looks enormous, even if he is sitting down. His shirt seems too small for his size. The door next to him leads to the second-class accommodation. I suppose he's making sure that no one comes in here who shouldn't. I suppose. Like people in handcuffs. Naruhodo-san, you look like a little boy visiting a toy shop for the first time. I would have thought you'd be used to the ship by now. We've been at sea for 2 weeks already. Yeah, but the inside of the cabin is all he's seen for 2 weeks since he stowed away on the ship inside a trunk or something. I would have thought you'd be used to the ship by now. Yeah, okay. Well, yes, I know. But the thing is, I was inside Kazuma's trunk when I first came aboard. And ever since then, I've been shut up inside that little wardrobe. It must have been a very trying time for you. Please, don't give me that pitying look. Hallways on ship like this wouldn't be very big, since that would make more room for other rooms. Yeah. Ship protocols. That's a huge book on top of the table there, and there's a pen next to it. Yes, that looks like the ship's log. Shall we have a little look through it? That would tell us who's been coming through this door, I guess. Like the name of the person staying in the next cabin. The writing is so neat and precise. Every detail about the voyage has been meticulously recorded. You wouldn't expect a rough and ready sailor to have such beautiful handwriting. And nothing. No reaction at all. I thought he might appreciate the compliment. I'm not sure that rough and ready is much of a compliment, Naruhodo-san, even to a sailor. Anyway, last night's log is mostly blank. Presumably that means there was nothing to report. Like nobody coming from through the door, I would expect. No, nobody unusual, anyway. An alarm bell? What do you think this is? It's a very pleasing shape, isn't it? That's the emergency alarm. It's probably best not to touch it. Oh, an alarm. It says, press only in times of emergency. It looks as though it sets alarm bells ringing all over the ship, and brings the vessel to a complete stop. Oh, this I have to see. What are you doing, Naruhodo-san? You mustn't touch it. But this is an emergency situation. Just look at these handcuffs. You know full well that's not what the alarm is for. If you were to bring this vessel to a standstill for no good reason, you'd be in an even worse situation. Ah, I wish everything would just stop. This ship included. If you have to do something foolish, at least make it something that doesn't affect anyone else. Ah, a trap for catching mice. Yes, we have plenty of those back home in Japan. Although, they seem to be using a lump of chalk or something as bait. Chalk? Let me see. Yes, I think that's what is called cheese. Ah, okay, yeah. Chalk. It's made from the milk of cows. Cheese? I wonder what that tastes like. You can't eat it, Naruhodo-san. The trap will snap shut on your fingers. Really. But, I suppose you're right. You weren't actually going to try it, were you? All I've had to eat for the past couple of weeks is Kazuma's leftovers. You don't know how hungry I've been in that wardrobe, Cheems. Poor you. I'll find a little snack for you later. It almost sounds like she's talking to a pet or something. Poor you. First class cabin number 1. Yes, that's our cabin. Not our cabin, it's Kazuma-sama's. Sorry? Your accommodation is confined to the wardrobe inside the cabin. You know how to make a stowaway feel small, don't you? That's actually pretty good advice. If you have to do something dumb, don't do it so it affects others. I think it's a very Japanese thing to say too. Because they wouldn't... I mean, doing something that will have bad consequences for others around you is also considered very rude for them. Like, not making waves, not causing grief to others around you is a very important thing, so... These cabins are the finest on the ship. My own cabin in steerage is numbered 539, by the way. 500 and... How many cabins are there? This is it. This is the cabin next to ours. The one the ventilator connects to. Yes, the ventilator from which Kazuma-sama wrote he saw a speckled band emerging. Maybe whoever is in this cabin can help solve that particular mystery. Let's ask. Oh, excuse me, we, need to get inside this cabin here. The sailor's eyes speak volumes. They're clearly saying, keep out. That's what I wrote on the sign we put over the wardrobe doors. Although, this man's version is definitely more effective. It doesn't look like he's going to let us pass. That's a problem. Why the long face? Herlock Sholmes, 34. There's not a person in the world who hasn't heard of this famous great detective. Not a person except me, apparently. Osunaga is 29. Mikotoba is 16. And Asogi was 23. That's the way to the second-class area of the ship. Something wrong? I was thinking about making a run for it just for a moment. Things aren't exactly going well for me. I might be wrong, but I imagine the moment you reach the handle of the door, that burly seaman would surely shoot you dead. I must be careful how I pronounce that. Oh dear, I'm sorry. Perhaps I went a little too far there. No, I started it with my talk of running away. Yeah, the AVGN already made that joke, I'm afraid. And there is no way I could run away while Kazuma's death remains a mystery anyway. Excuse me, but could I ask you something? You little stowaway murderer. That wasn't a good start, was it? Alright, let me try instead. Good day, Mr. Sailor. I'm so sorry to trouble you, but could I perhaps ask something of you? You little third-class lady's maid. Uh-oh. Oh, we seem to have caught the sailor on a bad day, Susato-san. I am not sailor. My mother gave me a name. I am senior crewman. Beef Stroganoff. Yeah, beef Stroganoff. Yeah, well, like the dish. Okay. Yeah, that at least I get. Yeah, damn. Here, the best thing is just to avoid eye contact, I think. Mr. Stroganoff. About this first-class cabin area. Here we are in finest part of Buria steamship for very important persons. What sort of very important persons? Government officials, kings and queens traveling in secret, many important persons. That is why I am always guarding this place. Gosh, that's amazing. But somehow I let stupid stowaway inside. I want to pick you up and throw you in the ocean, but Stroganoff is not animal. Thank you? Bro, I had that before and I hated it. What, beef Stroganoff? Is that what you're talking about? If I may, I was wondering, is the cabin next door to Mr. Asogi's currently occupied? Da. Sato-san, did you understand that? You said yes. It sounded like da. I think it's probably Russian for yes. Or no. Genius. It is not permitted to visit other cabins without invitation. Well, it sounds like there is somebody in the next door cabin at least. Yes, it's tantalizing. Could you tell us who's traveling in the cabin next to Mr. Asogi's? His name is Mr. Grimesby Roylott. What's the Grimes B. Roylott? If there's a pun, I don't get it. He is a very important Western gentleman. A Western gentleman? Do not think about it. He has nothing to do with murder of student boy. How can you be so sure about that? Mr. Roylott is authentic Western gentleman. Such a man would have no interest in lowly student from insignificant Fari silence. That was harsh. Could you tell us when Mr. Roylott came aboard? That is not your business. Come to think of it, even though we've been at sea for 2 weeks now and I've been in Kazma's cabin the entire time, I've never once heard anything from the next door cabin, or even felt like there was anyone there. Well, presumably since this gentleman is occupying one of the first-class cabins. Taken directly from the Holmes canon, though, the Grimesby Roylott, there was a significantly different character. Ah, okay. Okay. He must be rather important, is that right? Yeah, actually, what I remembered last night from the Sherlock TV show, the thing with the victim writing her name down with her finger, that wasn't the first episode of the TV show, actually. The victim had written down R-A-C-H-E. She was about to write Rachel, but she could not finish. And then one of the guys who's from the police from Scotland Yard, he said that means Rache, that means like wrath in German. So the victim must have been German, and that was kind of a parallel to what Holmes said in this one here, I guess. That it's a Russian word, so the victim must have been Russian or something. I went back and looked it up after finishing the stream last night, and I was like, yeah, that's what it is. There was some kind of parallel there as well. Then that is not your business. Are you on watch here all the time, Seaman Stroganoff? All time. So criminals like you cannot come in or get out. I wonder, could you tell us anything about last night at all? It is sad about Student Boy. Were you on watch last night as well? Of course. And did you notice anything at the time? Anything unusual? Niet. Susato-san, did you understand that? Well, he said niet. It was clearly a no. I saw nothing unusual. Nothing at all. And you didn't hear any strange noises or sense anything was wrong in some way? I said no! Sorry! I'm not so sure. I could have sworn that he wouldn't catch my eye for a moment there. This is enough. I cannot say more now. Oh, it is time for me to report to Captain. You must return to cabin. Yes, alright. Bulkhead to second class area is staying locked at all times. You escape when the lobster whistles on top of the mountain, or as English say, when the pigs fly. Yes, I understand. Good, now we can investigate this area properly, shall we? Definitely. Can I... no, I can't speed up the speed at which the text gets written on the screen. Crap. I haven't examined this yet. This looks like a plan of the SS Buria. It shows each deck. Look. The Buria is a large-scale steamship with a triple-skinned hull. What a marvel of engineering. Well, it's been playing on my mind for a while now, actually, but... how is it that such a huge lump of metal doesn't just sink to the bottom of the ocean? Oh, that's really quite simple, Naruhodo-san. It is? Well, consider the Japanese archipelago. The islands of Japan. Yes, they're not metal, but they are enormous lumps of earth, many, many times larger than this ship, and they don't sink, do they? They've been floating happily on the sea since the gods created them. Well, I suppose so. It's to do with the air inside the ship and the shape of the ship as well. Alright, apparently I'm not done looking through this thing. That book on top of the table there is really huge. There's a pen with it too. I'm sure that's the ship's log. Shall we have a little look through it? Well, yeah, that's exactly the thing that they said before, but why wasn't there a tick to tell me that I've already inspected it then? Ah, there's something more. Anyway, look here. Last night's log is mostly blank. Presumably that means there was nothing to report. Ah, okay. There was extra information in there then. This is it. This is the cabin next to ours. The one the ventilator connects to. Yes, the ventilator from which Kazuma-sama wrote that he saw a speckled band emerging. Maybe whoever is in this cabin can help solve that particular mystery. Let's ask. Knock, knock. No answer. We're out of luck, it seems. There's no one in there to help with our inquiries. How annoying. Ah! What was that? It came from inside the cabin. Such a high-pitched scream. It must have been a woman. Stand aside. I'm about to break the door down. Mr. Sholmes, I shan't be stopped. When the fit is on me, I revel in kicking doors off their hinges. Please, wait, Mr. Sholmes. The door doesn't appear to be bolted. It doesn't? Then how the deuce can I dispatch this muscular urge? What, pray, can I kick? I think we should go in. There's no time to think about stress relief. Who are you? Hold on. Yeah, it sure is Russian. Look, he has the, how do you call that, a shapka, I think? The red nose from drinking too much vodka, the big beard. Yeah, sure is Russian. A Western gentleman. This man looks Russian to me. We heard a woman scream. A woman? Don't be absurd. Wasn't this the case in the E3 trailer? It could have been. I tried not to watch the E3 trailer so as to not spoil myself. I've seen him in screenshots. That's all I can say. As you can see, there's nobody but me in this cabin. True, this old man does appear to be the only person in here. You remember this? Ah, okay. But in that case, who just screamed? Get out! All of you, now! Please excuse the intrusion, but you're Mr. Grimesby Roylott, I believe. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. He looks Russian, but he has a name that's not Russian. Russian Mac Russian face. Yes, that's me. And you are? I am the one and only, the actual Sherlock Holmes. You've heard of me, no doubt? No. I am a great detective among great detectives. One who adorns the covers of popular magazines, no less. So I assure you, you may trust me completely. The man uses that magazine like a business card. A detective. I do not trust detectives. What's he doing with a pair of scissors, anyway? We distinctly heard a scream emanating from within these walls. But there wouldn't appear to be a lady concealing herself within the wardrobe this time. Under the bed, under the table, there is a huge tablecloth on it, so there wouldn't appear to be a lady concealing herself. Yeah, blah blah blah. So might I be so bold as to ask you to open that small traveling case? It seems a bit too small. Well, don't be stupid. How could anyone fit in a small trunk like that? Well, it's quite fashionable these days, is it not? Traveling inside one's trunk? Don't look at me. Oh my, did you see that, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the case just shook. Leave now, otherwise I'll call the steward. So this is Kazuma's neighbor, Mr. Grimesby Roylott. There's no doubt about it. This strange Russian man is hiding something. I couldn't agree more. Let's see if we can find some clues before that burly sailor returns. When the trunk is sus. What's he doing in the wardrobe? Do you have a moment, please, Mr. Sholmes? You need only address me as Sholmes. That's what I just did, isn't it? Well, Mr. Sholmes, what were you doing in there? Why, I was resting, of course. Resting? Indeed, I was contemplating our sea voyage from the confines of the wardrobe whilst waiting. Waiting for the inevitable time that you would need to call my great powers of detection into service. Oh, and it would seem that the hour is upon us now. The time has come. Am I mistaken? Well, no, actually, you're spot on, for once. Observe closely. Our Russian host in this cabin, Mr. Royalot, is clearly trying to hide something. I see, what is it, a newspaper? Coming out of his pocket, he's hiding a pair of scissors. I'd say the beard looks fake. And do you know what is the most effective weapons to use against a Russian hiding a secret? Vodka. Why? The truth, of course. Oh, okay, that's disappointing. Though it should be pointed out that such methods are not exclusively for the Russians. Right. Can you imagine how the Russian will react when the secret he guards so closely is exposed? Would you like to witness it? Oh, yes, please. They would drunk you to the floor before they even got tipsy. Well then, what you are about to see may well astound you. Oh, I'm scared. For I am about to apply my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Oh boy, I'm scared. Could this man be a more hackneyed... What's that? Hackneyed? I don't know that word. Portrayal of a dubious Russian, I ask you? What? This is gonna be fun. From time to time it occurs to me. Is the fellow dubious on account of his Russianness or Russian on account of his dubiousness? I really don't think either of those things should be occurring to you. Or anyone. That's right, and Mr. Sholmes. I know this man's beard and dark glasses are hard to ignore, especially on first meeting, but I once read, it is a capital mistake to theorize before you have all the evidence. It biases the judgment. Shh! I must have complete silence. What are you doing? Why are you peering at my face like that? Just as I thought. Yes, I have quite made up my mind now. Hmm? There can be no other explanation that accommodates all the facts. Oh boy. Mr. Roylott, I have reached two incontrovertible conclusions. What do you mean? Number one, your true identity is that of a villain. Using those shears, you are about to end the existence of something most dear. Are you not? Huh? And number two, the other conclusion I have drawn. You are, at this very moment no less, in the midst of committing a most grievous crime. Beneath that beard, your mouth quivers with nervous tension as you realize you have been discovered. Does it not? Wait, what? Oh, Naruhodo-san, I never imagined I would witness one of Mr. Sholmes' great deductions with my own eyes. That was a great deduction? Nothing can deceive Mr. Sholmes. In a single glance, he can deduce all there is to know about a person. What ineffable twaddle. Oh, yes, I've read about it countless times in the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. And now I've experienced the astonishing impact of his great deduction with first hand. This is like a dream come true. Be right back, okay? Okie dokie, Monica. I can hardly believe it, but all the color has drained from Mr. Royalott's face. Could it be that he was spot on? I want whatever Sholmes is smoking. It looks like somehow both of Mr. Sholmes' conclusions were right. How? How could you? How could I possibly know such things? You wish to say. Very well then. I shall elucidate. I shall explain how it was that I arrived at this pair of conclusions. So do I cordially invite you upon a journey of logical discovery. Let us board the train of reasoning. Put plainly, let us work through my deductions together. The great deduction. The game is afoot! Old man's identity. So, the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously what catches the eye in the first place is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. Now we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. You were on the verge of using the shears to cut away the copious beard you sport. Now, moving on. The question then begged is this. Why would you desire to rid yourself of this magnificent beard, Mr. Roylott? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on the matter. Regard, if you will, this morning's newspaper, in particular the fascinating front-page article, which it would appear you have read also, Mr. Roylott. I'm sure it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. It looks nothing like him, though. In translation, the headline reads, Revolutionary Villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. As you cannot fail to observe, the subject of the article possesses an extremely copious beard. Not the same nose, not the same beard. Having noted the article yourself, you decided to remove your incriminating facial hair before it gave you away. In short, your true identity is beyond doubt. You are the fearsome Russian revolutionary himself, Villain Bolshevik. Not that I've heard of you myself, you understand. A revolutionary on the run. They literally look like twins, though. Wrongdoing. Now, as for my second conclusion, is gonna deduce that the woman in the trunk is the ballet dancer, the ballerina. You are at this very moment on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of this crime, over there. Oh yes, Mr. Roylott, taken unawares, people have a propensity to let their eyes stray, you see. Ah, and I assure you the eyes speak so much more eloquently and honestly than the mouth. The answer we seek lies where the furtive glance falls. The proof of your crime sits before our very eyes. Yes, that traveling case. It is time, I think, that the case be opened and its contents laid bare. No, I refuse. What could you possibly be concealing inside, we ask? By my estimation, a young lady, perhaps, one slight enough to fit therein? Don't be absurd. And what, pray, would be the identity of this young lady in the traveling case? Dear me, we are not well suited to a life of crime, are we? Your careless coup d'oeil betrays you. Once again, we need only follow your furtive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason you refuse to open your traveling case can equally be found in the pages of this newspaper. For there is another most stimulating article. If we turn from the fleeing revolutionary to the back page. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. Such a headline can lead us to but one conclusion. Your crime is that of abduction. And according to the article, the young lady's name is Nikolina Pavlova. Kidnapping of a young ballerina. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this Russian enigma, Elemensky. Sure, broski, whatever. Susato-san, that wasn't one of the great deductions I've been hearing so much about, was it? Well, the first half I don't believe is true. The second half could be, I suppose. There's nothing to suggest that this isn't true. Well, the stories are full of Mr. Sholm's brilliant deductions, you know. But that did seem a little different somehow. Excuse me, Mr. Sholmes, could you come over here a moment? Pray, what can I do for you? It's about your deductions. Would you mind? Not at all. Go on. Well, to start with, there's the newspaper article. I think we had the same discussion before, but these two men look nothing like each other. Ah, yes, I recall our discussion earlier, and at the time I believe I told you that the man is a revolutionary, well able to revolutionize his own appearance. In fairness to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Royalot does look more like this man than you do. Yeah, I suppose that's true. That's not the point. And another thing, the part about him abducting the ballerina. Indeed, a truly startling revelation. At first glance, the case would appear too small to accommodate a young woman. But just at first glance, it is too small, clearly, but it was moving, though. You'd be lucky to fit a 5-year-old child into that case, even if you pushed really hard. I don't suppose the missing ballerina is a 5-year-old child, is she? You mean you don't know? No, the young lady is 15. No, I didn't know. How could I? Well, they could fit the Chinese guy in Ocean's 11 in a suitcase, so... Well, okay, maybe it was admittedly a bit larger than this one, perhaps, and the guy was talented for that, so... No, I didn't know. How could I? Well, if she's 15, then 10 years worth of work would be poking out from the case. Some years ago, I read something pertinent, I believe. A troop of men consuming vinegar daily in order to promote a certain litheness in their bodies. Vinegar? For such a sour bunch, it would surely be simplicity itself to contort oneself into the confines of that small case. Oh dear, you might be thinking of contortionists in the circus, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, this whole thing is turning into a circus. Mr. Naruhodo, something's occurred to me about Mr. Sholmes' deductions just now. I think his powers of observations are, well, magical. His eyes cut to the heart of the matter almost instantly. It's just where he directs his attention and his logic that seem a little off. Your idea of a little may be a little of it off itself, Mr. Sato. It's just one or two keywords in his deductions that seem to let him down. So I was wondering if we might perhaps tactfully switch them for alternatives. What do you think? Switch some keywords in his deductions. Yes, but very tactfully. I feel sure if we could do that, we'd unlock the true genius of Mr. Sholmes' great deduction. So his true genius is that he needs someone else to come and correct him all the time for him to be right. I think I could go for some of that genius myself too. Alright. Precisely the thought that was going through my own mind. This man has a lot of work. At times I wonder how anyone puts up with me. It's not that funny. And you, my good fellow. Sorry? Take a moment to look at your wrists. My wrists? Oh, where are your handcuffs? Be a man and blow your nose directly into the mic. I don't think that would be very polite for anyone listening. How did... I felt they may hinder your ability to follow me in our dance of deduction. I don't believe it! Mr. Sholmes, you are a marvel! And don't worry, I shall restore the shackles to your wrist when we are finished. I'm not worried, in fact, I'd rather stay like this. So, let us begin. Herlock Sholmes is proud to present Is Logic and Reasoning Spectacular? Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. So, the dubious-looking rush on Mr. Royalot, obviously what catches the eye in the first place is the enormous pair of shears in your hands. Now we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. You are on the verge of using the shears to cut away the copious beard you sport. I'm not sure. Would you really use shears like that to cut off a beard? I doubt that's something I'll ever have to worry about. It doesn't quite sit right with me, though. I could hear the birds making a ton of noise, though the cats were doing something, but turns out it was seagulls getting into the crow's territory. Bird gang wars. Well, I know for seeing them that crows can get really angry and really aggressive to other birds when they fight for a spot atop trees or stuff like that, so... And seagulls, the ones that we have in Belgium anyway, if you're at the coast and you're walking around with food, they will swoop down on you and just steal the food out of your hands. It happens all the time. It doesn't seem to be sitting right with Mr. Royalot either, which means I suppose that the deduction is wrong. Let's try to switch a keyword here in Naruhodo-san and see if it helps matters. Alright, but how? I think we should start by taking a long, hard look at Mr. Royalot. I wonder if it's really his beard that he intended to use those shears on. Exactly. If we do manage to find something that seems to fit the sense of Mr. Sholmes' deduction better, then what? Then I'll leave the rest in your capable hands, Naruhodo-san. We live next to the harbor, so the seagulls try taking the other birds' territory sometimes. Territory wars. Then I'll leave the rest in your capable hands, Naruhodo-san. Why am I the one to do something about this? Well, anyway, let's see if there's anything we could even use to switch around in the last sentence. What exactly was Mr. Royalot really going to use those enormous shears for? I was going to say the newspaper. What's that in his back? White hair, golden locks, they say. Well, I suppose that must be the thing. What's this? It looks like a cascade of stunning golden locks. No, the color is not the point. The point is, what's it doing on the back of Mr. Royalot's head? And how is it growing out from underneath his thick black hair? Well, yes, that's true, so it's stunningly beautiful and stunningly surprising. Something's definitely not right here. Well, it's the golden locks, isn't it? What else could it be? Ah, but you can present it by pressing X. Okay, there we go. You are on the verge of using the shears to cut away the golden locks you sport. Indeed, you have identified the precise detail I was intending to expose. Such lush golden hair certainly does not befit an old man. Nor it's more to conceal his identity, I'd say. Well, yeah, the fact that he is a woman, probably, yeah. Is that a fake nose, then? Doesn't look like a very feminine nose, if you ask me. You're not a man at all, you're a woman, and judging from the length and sheen of your hair, but what's inside the luggage, then, though? Animals, maybe? I think they said something like animals are forbidden on board or something. So yeah, that could be an animal, I guess. One still very much in her youth. The beard is real, though. Oh, no. If only I had managed to cut off my hair, no one would have suspected. It is the ballerina. She wasn't abducted, she's running away maybe or something. I love this gameplay part, the posing, the deduction, it's so fun and interesting. Well, Sholmes is stealing the show also. It's his goofiness that's making it so entertaining. The question then begged is this: why would you desire to rid yourself of these magnificent locks? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on the matter. I'm sure it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. Well, that was a shock. I had no idea that old man was really a young woman in disguise. Did you? What? Why are you staring at me like that? Yes, it was a surprise. Naruhodo-san. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Sorry, you look like you're in your element as you dance around the room deducing the facts with Mr. Sholmes. I'm just doing what we agreed. I'm not having fun or anything. This is strictly business. Hold on, what was that? He was cut. I'm not having fun or any... No, not strictly okay. Yes, I understand. Stay no more. But I just love that Ryunosuke is doing the same posing. Yeah. The evidence that he picked out doesn't fit the facts at all now. No, that's true, given that Mr. Roylott is actually a woman. Exactly. He, or rather she, can't possibly be this merciless revolutionary. I suppose it's because the deduction as a whole has taken a different direction now. Yes, let's switch the evidence for something else. The back of the newspaper. Something that fits the facts as we now understand them. For some reason, this woman needed to try to hide her true identity. I feel as though I've either read or heard about a young woman in a situation like that recently. Alright, I'll do my best. The article about the ballerina. The evidence that reveals your true identity is, of course, the article about the ballerina. Holmes has a way of getting people to just do as he does, I guess. He has that influential demeanor about him. He's a trendsetter. That's right, you've hit the nail on the head. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. It would appear we are finally able to address you by your true name. Yes, because your true identity is that of the Novovich Ballet's prima ballerina, Pavlova Nikolina or something. Pavlova? Yeah, Nikolina Pavlova. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that was the name. Arr! That looks dangerous. Ouch. The shapka still suits her, though. You're right, my real name is Nina. I mean, Nikolina Pavlova. But please, I beg you, don't tell anyone. So pretty. Such long hair. Now, as for my second conclusion. You are, at this very moment, on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of this crime over there. Oh yes, Miss Pavlova. Taken unawares, people have a propensity to let their eyes stray, you see. And I assure you the eyes speak so much more eloquently and honestly than the mouth. The answer we seek lies where the furtive glance falls. Was there something in the article to hint at what is in the case? I'd say a pet, probably. Which she was not allowed to have on board, since they said so earlier. This woman is the ballerina, and she's right in front of our eyes, so clearly she can't be inside that traveling case as well. No, that's right, it seems she wasn't abducted at all. In which case, what is the crime this young woman is apparently committing? I can see I'm going to have us to step in and fix the great detective's mistake again. You seem to look pleased, Naruhodo-san. Do you like the idea of another chance to dance around with Mr. Sholmes? Stop it! Anyway, there must be something else here that shows what this woman is up to. Can we look through the room? The tiara? The waste paper basket? Let's have a little look inside. I'd want to dance around with Sholmes. Naruhodo-san, it's poor etiquette to go sifting through someone's rubbish, you know? Ah, those eyes. She's looking at me like I'm a piece of rubbish now. However, these are special circumstances, I think. Exactly, we have no choice. There's hardly anything in here at all. Oh, well, that's a little disappointing. I was looking for something that might suggest a pet, but... I mean, it seems like fun. To just goof around, yeah. That would be fun. Wow, look at this dazzling tiara. I've never seen anything like it. Are those real diamonds, do you think? Oh, Naruhodo-san, try it on. What, me? Isn't it usually girls who wear tiaras? Wouldn't you like to try it on? Oh no, I couldn't possibly. It's far too beautiful. Why does this tiara look familiar? I feel like I've seen it somewhere recently. Yeah, I think it was in the... It wasn't the article in the newspaper that it was stolen or something? That they were looking for her and the tiara? I think that was mentioned. That's part of the problem when you stop playing a game for a while like this. She stole it, maybe? The proof of your crime is surely this tiara. Because if I look at it... I can't have an explanation or translation of it. If I look at it. Because I think there was more to it than just her disappearance. It was about the tiara as well, I believe. I believe this tiara is worn on stage by dancers in the Novavich Ballet, is it not? Indeed, it would appear to be identical to the tiara pictured here in this newspaper article. Yeah, it was stolen, wasn't it? Yeah. And if the reporting is to be believed, it's an item worth 20,000 rubles. Yeah, indeed, yeah, I remember that now that he says it. In summary, the crime you have committed is theft. Oh no! Yes, you left your ballet troupe unlawfully taking their precious tiara with you. Her reaction. What's in the trunk, though? Suitcase, I mean. I have no one, no family, no friends. I am all alone and I need money. But I did not steal the tiara. It was a present from, how do you say, an Earl of Prussia. It belongs to me. The reactions are so over the top. Well, that's in typical Isotrini fashion, but I'm glad that they did carry over to the 3D games in the series. This girl is only 15 years old, and she's run away all by herself. She must have been extremely lonely. Alright, I will tell you everything. There is no point to hiding it now. She jumps a little when he snaps his fingers and there's the spotlight on her like that all of a sudden. Like, it's not just figurative, it's happening for real. Sholmes has the power when he snaps his fingers like that to make a big spotlight appear on her and everything else in the room going dark. Making people jump. Come, let us not be hasty. What? There remains one unsolved mystery about you. Mystery? What do you mean? Yeah, I'm curious about that. You have staunchly refused to open this traveling case of yours in our presence. It is reasonable to conclude, therefore, that there exists some reason why you wish it to remain closed. Is that not so, Miss Pavlova? My dear girl, there is no sense in playing games with me. Nothing escapes my attention. Indeed, I have a very good idea of the contents of your case, even before I have ever laid eyes on them. Dear me, we are not well suited to a life of crime, are we? Your careless coup d'oeil betrays you. I see something now on the floor, but I guess yeah, it's kind of hidden by the overlay right now. There is like a plate that you would give food to a pet for, like something that a dog eats out of or something. Your careless coup d'oeil betrays you. Once again, we need only follow your furtive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the books on the shelf. He's completely changed tack with his deduction now. I think Mr. Sholmes is adapting his logic to the changing circumstances, don't you? Maybe, but why has he suddenly brought the bookshelf into all this? It's just a wild guess, surely. Oh, do you think so? Well, it doesn't seem likely that the reason why this young woman doesn't want to open her case would have been written in a book that doesn't even belong to her. Yes, that's true, but still. Miss Pavlova certainly did cast her eyes in that direction. I noticed it myself. Then there has to be another reason why she won't open her case. And it must be somewhere in the same area if that's where her gaze was involuntarily drawn. I agree, that's the only answer. Whatever she has hidden inside that case should be revealed by following her gaze in the direction of the bookcase. Small picture. This is a charming little picture, isn't it? I can't even make out what's on it. What is it? Someone climbing a steep mountainside? Or descending one, it seems to me. When you've been on the flat sea for a while, maybe you start seeing hills and mountains and everything. It looks like these are all the same books that we have in our cabin. I suppose the steward likes to make sure passengers have plenty to read for the long voyage. And have you noticed how all the books have fallen over, just like in Kazuma-sama's cabin? It's almost like someone's taken a sweep at them. Maybe Miss Pavlova, while she was practicing her ballet. Anyway, the point is, we don't have time to look through all these books at the moment. We couldn't even if we wanted to. They're all in Russian. Well, that's a relief. Let's try our luck elsewhere. The sign? The rules of passage, isn't that where I read that the pets are forbidden on board? Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Yeah, there we go. That's where I had read that. There was exactly the same notice in our cabin too. I wonder what happens if you break the rules. Oh dear, I'm sure the punishment would be severe, Naruhodo-san. You'd probably be left to drift in the freezing cold ocean. Or shut inside a tiny wardrobe for days on end. So I've actually been serving time for weeks now, have I? That's the thing. Yes, the reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Inside that case of yours is something forbidden from carriage on this vessel. That is the real reason why you refuse to open it, thus revealing its contents. Yeah, it's literally moving. As we've seen, the trunk wobbles from time to time, but no weapon or other dangerous item would move of its own accord. Which leaves but one possibility, Miss Pavlova, inside your traveling case. And I'm going to say it must be a dog, because of the Pavlov, how do you call that in English? The Pavlovian reflex or something like that. Like the experience of the scientist Pavlov with the little bell and the dog that drools Because he knows that the bell signifies that he's about to be fed or something? I wouldn't be surprised if it was a dog for that reason. Which leaves but one possibility, Miss Pavlova. Inside your traveling case is the last item listed as forbidden in the vessel's rules of passage. A pet. Possession of a prohibited animal. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary! So clearly you aren't who you said you were. No, I am not Grimesby Roylott. My real name is Nikolina Pavlova. Everything you said was correct. You absconded during one of your ballet company's performances in order to escape your homeland. Later that same night, you stole aboard this vessel. Which couldn't have been easy. The Buria is a huge steamship with a vast crew. How did she afford a first-class ticket anyway to be allowed on board? Damn, my headphones are dying. Sound is starting to sound scratchy. Oh. That's the symptom? When they're about to die? Could she really have snuck on board without being noticed? In order to obscure your true identity, you somewhat recklessly took the guise of an old gentleman. And you intended to sever all links with your past by severing your long hair. Yet to a woman, hair is no trifling matter. My personal recommendation is to leave well alone. So, if it was just you about to cut off your own hair, who was it that let out the scream we heard from outside the cabin? It would have been herself, right? No? That veritable tinkling of a bell. Why, none other than this young lady, naturally. More like a full set of pipes, if you ask me. Well, that or a sound will become lower, or one just dies completely. Ah, okay. I was so scared when I ran away in Shanghai. I was sure they would come looking for me. That's why I decided to, how do you say, disgust myself, so no one would recognize me. Disgust myself. As a result, you transformed yourself into that questionable old man, I see. I put on the fur hat and fake beard. Then, just before you came in here, I saw in the newspaper, right on the page, there was a picture of me. I was so frightened. I couldn't stop from screaming. I knew that if I didn't change my appearances completely, they would find me. So I decided to cut all my hair as fastly as possible. I picked up the scissors in my hand and... At that precise moment, we walked in through the annoyingly unlocked cabin door. Things happen like that sometimes, don't they? Things do indeed happen like that from time to time. Are those two even talking about the same thing? There's just one more thing I'd like to know. What exactly do you have inside your traveling case? It's a puppy, isn't it? You were right, it is my dear friend inside, my only friend in the whole world. Please, don't tell anyone if the captain finds out, if you say to any of the crew. Your secret is safe with us, I assure you, but in return, you must tell us in as much detail as you can muster about the events of last night. Yes, alright, I will tell you. Well, Mr. Naruhodo? Wasn't it something, Mr. Sholm's great deduction? It was certainly something, yes. I'm just not entirely sure what. But at least Miss Pavlova has agreed to tell us what she knows. That's incredible. Indeed, it is incredible. And one more thing. Oh, yes? What? Observe your wrists. My. Ah, your hands are cuffed again. What? But how? True to my word, I have restored your shackles. When and why? But more importantly, how? How does he keep doing that? There is still a shadow of guilt cast over you, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry to say. It can't be helped at the moment. Can't it? Really? Anyway, let's listen to what Miss Pavlova has to say. I can't go on not knowing. I have to find out what the speckled band that Kazuma-sama wrote about in his diary really was. Well, shall we free the poor animal now? Let me see. Don't touch! Huh? I will tell you what I know about last night, but please, you must not touch my things. How do you say, forbid it. Oh, sorry. As well you should be, young man. What vulgar manners you have. Poking around in a young lady's private belongings? Neither shall I allow it. Grr, a hypocrite. But I guess I should still look around. Oh, everything already has a tick on it. Okay, well. Converse. What happened last night? Did you know that someone was killed in the cabin next door to this one last night? One of the crewmen told me this morning when I was eating breakfast. The man who died, he was a friend of mine. Oh, that's why we're trying to find out what happened. Did you notice anything unusual last night? Perhaps you heard a strange noise, for example. Perhaps people talking? Perhaps the ship was absorbed in a wild tempest. Perhaps its steam engine exploded. Perhaps everyone on board would have noticed if that had happened. Miss Pavlova, is there anything you can tell us? I don't know. I'm sorry, but all I could think about last night was what I had done and whether they would find me. I didn't notice anything that was happening around me. Oh, I see. You've run away from your ballet company, haven't you? The Novavich Ballet? Yes, I am traveling to Great Britain, and from there, I want to go to America. I will never dance again. I want to forget... Okay, I was just reminded of Wham. I ain't never gonna dance again. I will never dance again. I want to forget everything about the ballet. I will start a new life. You wish to forget a challenging proposition when you have to strike that striking tiara as a reminder. But the tiara is mine. I need it to live. I have no money of my own. The Novavich Ballet gives us only a little food and water, and we must dance all over the world. I had to run away. I had no choice. If I stayed, it would have killed me. So you ran away to protect yourself? Yes, and the crew of this ship, they have all been kind to me. They let me come on board, and they said I could hide in this cabin. Ah, okay. So they were accomplices. If that is indeed the truth, Miss Pavlova, it creates a most intriguing conundrum. Yes, it does. What do you think about it, Mr. Naruhodo? Me? Oh, well, yes, of course. I think we should hear Miss Pavlova's explanation. To what conundrum, I'm not sure, but... Miss Pavlova, allow me to pose you a riddle. According to this newspaper, it was only yesterday that you absconded from the ballet. Now, that being the case, it must have been last night that you boarded this vessel. However, the SS Buria stopped by no port last night. Ah, that's it, of course. So how is it, pray, that you come to be aboard? Now that I think about it, the crewman outside the cabin acted very strangely when we mentioned that. It was just after we asked him about when the occupant of this cabin came aboard. That is not your business. Yes, you're right. He did seem to be hiding something. An angel descended from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to the stage. Sorry, what was that? It is how the Russian newspapers described one of my performances. And that is how I came here too. I descended from the heavens because I am an angel. I find that somehow hard to believe. Considering English isn't your mother tongue, your description is very vivid. Mr. Sholmes once said, I never can resist a touch of the dramatic. It seems Miss Pavlova is the same. A genius descended from the heavens. Yeah, huh? Bringing grace and beauty to detection. Words once said about myself. A quote from a wonderfully extravagant advertisements for the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, in fact. She's an angel, right? An angle? Yes, Mr. Showy. Anyway, it doesn't look like Miss Pavlova is going to tell us what really happened. So the friend you mentioned is inside your traveling case, is that right? I don't think animals are allowed on board according to the rules of passage. Oh please, don't tell any of the crew. If they found my precious, then the burly Russians would bestir themselves in unison to throw you and your case overboard, no doubt. Ah! So reassuring, Mr. Sholmes. So tactful. But what sort of pet is your friend? A little puppy. It is, isn't it? No? Maybe an adorable little rabbit? Ha, you credit Russia as a land with small rabbits, do you? Oh, don't they have small rabbits there then? You may well ask. I have no idea. Huh. You two are miserable bunglers when it comes to understanding the nature of young ballerinas, friends. Isn't it obvious? It must be a chicken. It's a snake! Joke. Well, that would have explained the speckled band. Really? It's obviously a bear, because Russian bears. Consider the benefits. It's a Russian bear playing the trumpet. Consider the benefits. A rousing wake-up call, daily fresh eggs, and when adversity strikes, it could satisfy the needs of sustenance. So you'd eat your friends. I remember that. On a unicycle. A raccoon? I was pretty sure it was gonna be a dog though, because of the Pavlov thing. Because that would have made the connection, the reference. What it would appear this friend's identity is a closely guarded secret not to be revealed. She obviously doesn't quite trust us yet. There's something I should like to show her, I think. Maybe she might be able to shed some light on it. Oh, what's it gonna be? I had a speckled band? That must be it, right? Well, actually, I can show her multiple things. Hey, take a look at this. It's cool, isn't it? Can I show you this? I'm actually a university student from the Empire of Japan, you see. That means nothing to me. No, why would it? Mr. Naruhodo, if you're determined to flaunt your Yume badge, at least choose a Japanese person who might recognize it. Mr. Sato, can I show you this? Maybe later. Oh, I could show Inspector Hosonaga too. Miss Pavlova, would you take a look at this? There's something written in Russian on it. It's a bird. No, a plane. No, it's Superman. I don't know. I don't know anything. Mr. Naruhodo, you're frightening the poor girl. Oh, sorry. I wasn't trying to. Ah, there we go. That was the thing. This is the diary of my friend who passed away. His diary? Yes, and he wrote in it last night before he died. Something a little unusual. It reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. And then, a few minutes later... Well, the whistling sound could have been from a snake, and the speckled band if it was a snake, like in the original Sherlock Holmes story. That would make sense too. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Speckled band? I don't understand. It's strange, isn't it? But the ventilator he mentions joins this cabin, you see. It's up there on the wall. In other words, this cabin and the victim's cabin are connected together. It's a skunk. Oh. A snake would be incredibly inconvenient to feed, though, because if you have a pet snake, you have to feed it, what, live mice or something? It's not just gonna eat anything. There has to be praise. It's a miniature human. Miss Pavlova, something occurred to you. Does the speckled band the victim mentioned mean something to you, or the whistling sound, perhaps? No, I don't know anything. Oh. Knock, knock. Excuse me, Mr. Royalot. Yes, what? Wow, that was fast. Fuck it, it's Rudy inside the case. Wow, she's fast. Captain would like to speak with you. You must come to Captain's quarters at once, please. Alright, I will come now. What? You must leave, now. Oh no, it's fine, don't mind us. Yes, please don't worry yourself, Mr. Roylott. Get out! The passenger said out, or you want me to throw you out? I mean, if it is a snake, then it could eat the rats on the ship. I suppose so, yeah, and maybe that's why it was in the ventilation shaft, I guess? To let it out so it can go out and hunt its prey, I suppose? It looks like we'll have to leave investigating this cabin until later. What a pity. And so we lost our chance. Having still not managed to investigate Miss Pavlova's cabin, we were unceremoniously chased out. That is to say, we were quite literally picked up and thrown into the passage outside. Including Sholmes. To be continued. Well, that's the end of part 1. I wish we hadn't been thrown out like that. I wish we'd managed to find some clue as to what that speckled band might be. We didn't manage to investigate at all. And I imagine that we won't be able to for a while longer. We'll never get past that sailor guarding the door. Sholmes probably teleported or some shit. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. He's clearly glaring at us as if to say, don't even think about it. Oh, wait a minute. What is it? Well, what happened to our great detective friend? Where did he go? Oh yes, he's completely disappeared. When did he do that? Yeah, he's teleported. He slipped away as quietly as the wind, but not before ensuring these were securely back on my wrists. Hold on. I really wish we'd had a chance to look around in Miss Pavlova's cabin. What? Why you look like that? You want something? Maybe you want me to throw you out again, Oh, no, definitely not that. Next time I have to throw you out, I show you where lobsters spend winter, understand? I understand. Maybe I should steer clear of him until he's forgotten my face. I don't think you'll ever forget your face, Naruhodo-san. Well, let's move, I suppose. It looks like they're still investigating in here. Yes, on that subject, I wonder if Inspector Osanaga is unscathed. What do you mean, unscathed? Surely you haven't forgotten, have you, Naruhodo-san? Don't you remember what he said about allowing you out of this cabin to investigate? I wish I could keep watching, but my dog needs a walk and then I might just crash. Ah, okay. Well, if you have to, Monica, please, by all means. Have a good walk if you have to go out. Don't you remember what he said about allowing you out of this cabin to investigate? He was going to talk to the captain about it. He said he'd lay his life on the line for you. Thank you for the stream and have a good rest of the night. You too, Monica. Careful out there then as you walk out your dog. And have a good night then if you have to sleep after that. See you next time. He was going to talk to the captain about it. He said he'd lay his life on the line for you. Oh, yes, but I'm sure he was exaggerating. Let's see what he has to say for himself. He might have some new information for us. You never know. Okay, nothing new here. So it's clear that these letters were written with the ink that was somehow spilt on the floor, and they spell the Russian word for wardrobe. It does seem to be an unambiguous pointer to you, Naruhodo-san, as you were sleeping in there. But to be truly unambiguous, it should have just spelled out my name, don't you think? Well, either way, one fact remains. It's hard to imagine that Kazuma-sama would have written his last words all word in Russian, which begs the question of who did write it. Ah, well, there he is. So this ventilator joins to Miss Pavlova's cabin. Yes, that's right. And just a few minutes before he died, Kazuma saw something emerging from it. The speckled band, as he described it. If only Miss Pavlova had been able to shed some light on it, but she seemed as baffled as we are. Yes, I wonder if she's telling us everything, though. I'm not sure. I know most people aboard would say the same about me, but there was something about that woman that didn't sit right with me. Okay, the bell, this, the desk. This is where Kazuma spent his final moments writing his diary. 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Looking at his writing here on this page, it's almost impossible to believe that he's gone. Kazuma-sama left us a valuable clue in these words, I'm sure of it. We have to solve this mystery, Naruhodo-san. We will. All the books provided for passengers occupying this cabin, neatly arranged on the shelf. They were all over the place when we first looked around, if you remember. Oh yes, and you tidied them up, didn't you? You have to look after the ship's property. Unruly behavior in the cabins leads to damage. But it really wasn't me who knocked them over. Well, anyway, I feel much better now they're neatly lined up. I can't relax when things are untidy. Yo, where did you go? Oh, sorry, I just went to the next door cabin to investigate. Why? Who gave you permission for this? Well, Seaman Hosonaga did. That new Japanese, was it? Later I will roll him into a ball and throw him in cold room. Phew, he's gone back to guarding the door. I hope Inspector Osanaga doesn't find himself in too much trouble on our account. He's really gone out of his way to help us, hasn't he? When we get back to Japan, we'll have to take him for a steak at La Carnival. That could be a very long time from now, Naruhodo-san. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Buria. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. So by bringing your pet on board, Miss Pavlova has broken the rules. She called it her friend, didn't she? Yes, although we don't know what form this friend takes as yet. I'm almost certain that whatever it is, it's inside the traveling case in her cabin. A friend. There's more to this than it seems, I think. But if it's a snake, though, what kind of snake would be strong enough to shake the case? I mean, they have strength when it comes to constricting their prey, but to shake a whole case, though, they are not very heavy animals. So we are back. Okay, okie dokie. What happened to him? Ah, you're back. Inspector, what happened to you? Your face is... Please, don't worry about it. Yeah, I know my controller is on low battery. It's been that way for a while now. Don't worry, they're just scratches. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, excuse me. Take something for my throat as well. I'm running out of these things. Okay. Hit by a bear, maybe? When I told the captain that I'd given you permission to investigate, he told me he'd pummel me with his fists and then toss me overboard. What? But the pummeling was over in a flash, and he must have decided against throwing me overboard. So it was nothing really. It looks like he wasn't joking when he said he'd lay his life on the line if he had to. Well, thanks to your efforts, we now know a little bit about the neighboring cabin. Yes, so I understand. Oh? I bumped into a man claiming to be a great detective a little while ago. I think his name was something like Herr Lochsholmes. I don't think it was German, though. Ah, that explains it. Shall we compare notes, then? We can tell you what we found out. Yes, let's do it. I wanted to present my badge. I can't. What? Nikolina Pavlova? She's in the cabin next door? Oh, do you know who she is? Please, what self-respecting ballet fan wouldn't know that graceful angel? Oops, I think I upset him there. Well, that tells us the neighboring cabin is unrelated to the case at least. Oh, how? Because angels don't go around committing crimes, do they? Oops, now I've definitely upset him. Inspector, has your investigation in here proved fruitful? If I'm honest, there's very little more I can do. Our duty is to make sure the scene is undisturbed, ready to hand over to the Hong Kong police. So I'm just keeping watch here, trying not to take my eyes off the job. Oh, I see. There is one thing. I do have a small piece of new information for you. Oh, what? You do yes, do tell us, Inspector, please. What is this new information you have, Inspector? It's this. The Buriam's medical officer has finished his examination of the body. I managed to obtain the report. Oh, Kazuma's post-mortem report? Kazuma-sama. So, what was the cause of death? Damage to the cervical vertebrae is what's written in the report. His neck was broken? Yes, it would seem so. There were no obvious wounds or other signs of injury. So at first I think they were considering poison. But it turns out they found no trace of poison in his system at all. Oh, I know what it is. What it is? What is it? Well, what weapon was used then? Nothing has been found as yet, but the fact that there are no signs of a wound suggests it may have been a blunt object. Something that wouldn't leave a mark. Oh, I see. All the body's nerves run through the spine to the brain. A strong enough impact to the neck could induce death. It is a possibility. An anaconda? That would have been a pretty big snake then, to fit inside the case. It is a possibility, and no obvious wound would be left. Poor Kazuma. I have a second copy of the report. If it might be useful, you're welcome to have it. Really? Are you sure? Yes, it's fine. I trust you. After all, if I didn't trust you, I'd never have agreed to you leaving this cabin in the first place, would I? Yeah, fair point. The post-mortem report has been entered into the court record, and that pretty big snake seems to be the only one that can break necks and move in the case. Oh, Mr. Sholmes was here, was he? Yes, he seemed to be enjoying himself a little too much as he crept about on the floor investigating. But then he suddenly left. I suppose he must have become bored. Did he say anything at all? Actually, now you mention it, yes, just one thing. But he practically shouted it. It's shoe polish, was all he said. That's it, I'm applying to the FBI because I'm a natural at this. Shoe polish. I wonder what he meant. It was when he was over there by the piece of broken glass. Do you see? Yeah, that. Perhaps he was talking about this brick-colored mark, do you think? Ah, yes, that must be it. But how could Mr. Sholmes know that it's shoe polish? That leaves me cold, I'm afraid. I have no idea. What is it, Susato-san? Well, Kazuma-sama was wearing leather shoes with a very dark tan hue. Dark tan? A sort of dark brownish red then. Yes, a little like the color of red wine, but darker. I often repaired them for him. Oh, does this mean that this mark was made by the polish on Kazuma's shoes as they scuffed on the floor? That's really all I can tell you at this stage. I shall return to my post. My fellow crewmen's eyes are boring into the back of my head. Yes, that might be for the best. Thank you. Poor Inspector, you look exhausted. Oh, no, well. I feel terrible that I failed to protect Asogi-san. It was my responsibility. Of course, my pain is nothing compared to yours. You were his friends. The truth is, I seem to have had a heavy head ever since I woke this morning. A heavy head? That's interesting. My head's still throbbing too. They were put to sleep by some kind of gas, maybe in the ventilation shaft. The conduit. Well, okay, going back out seems to have been the right choice. Calling it right now, it was that beef stroganoff dude. Look, Naruhodo-san. Seaman Stroganoff has gone. Strong enough? The burly Russian sailor who's always crossing his arms and glaring at us. Ah, all these Russian names are impossible to remember. Tra-la-la. Did you hear that? It sounded like someone singing. Tra-la-la-li-ra-li-ra-lay, I did it the great detective way. This caroling. I know that lark-like voice. Lark-like voice. Well, never mind that now. This is a golden opportunity for us. Yes, you're right. We must seize it. Let's get inside Miss Pavlova's cabin while we can and investigate. Definitely, before that stringy knot crewman comes back. It's Stroganoff, not stringy, not stringy knot. Okay, move. Hey, the case is open. And also, why are these clothes in the wardrobe now? Who put them there? Miss Pavlova isn't back yet. Susato-san, oh, where's she gone? Hey, what are you doing? Those are our private things. There's not a moment to waste, Naruhodo-san. We must investigate as quickly as we can. Oh, come to think of it, the kind of animal that it could have been. I mean, that would not necessarily have any link to a speckled band, but a monkey, perhaps? I don't know. A monkey small enough to fit in a case? Smart enough to put the clothes back inside the wardrobe? I suppose you're right, for Kazuma's sake. Not just for Kazuma-sama. What do you mean? It can't be long now until we arrive at port in Hong Kong. I don't want you to be in those handcuffs when we get there. Really? We must solve this case, Naruhodo-san. By ourselves if we have to. Yes, we will. Oh my, Miss Pavlova's case is open! It's completely empty inside, but according to the great detective's great deduction, she was hiding her special friend in there. Yes, a friend that she had to keep secret, because you're not allowed to bring animals aboard the SS Buria. I wonder what kind of animal she had in there, and more to the point. Where is it now? In the bag? In there? I suppose every cabin has a waste paper basket. Shall we have a little look and see what's been thrown away? Naruhodo-san, it's poor etiquette to go sifting through someone's rubbish, you know? Yeah, but I think this is the same, line of dialogue as before. Is it still gonna be like it was before? Oh, yeah. There are just a few books on the desk, nothing else, by the looks of it. Well, Miss Pavlova only ran away from the ballet last night. She's hardly occupied this cabin for any time at all. That's true. I wonder what kind of books she likes to read. Let me see. Yes, I see. It would seem that Miss Pavlova enjoys reading. Books written in Russian. Thanks. I think I probably already knew that. It's rude to ask too much of people, Naruhodo-san. Kindly remember that. I wonder what this little saucer is doing on the floor. You know what happened? It doesn't look like it's been dropped, more like it was put there deliberately. Do you think there could be a leak in the roof just above her? Or just above here? What, a leak? Is this ship quite safe? I'm sure that even if there's a little leak in the roof, it doesn't mean the whole ship is going to sink. No, you're right. Of course you're right. She's really trying to persuade herself, isn't she? The monkey got out at night, used its tail as bait, then shapow right to the back of the dude's neck, making him visit Jesus. God, I'm a genius. Yeah, the new Herlock Sholmes. Brilliant deduction. Do you think that's a god of the sea, perhaps? He's toppled too, though. It's exactly the same as the bookcase next door, in Kazuma's cabin. Perhaps Miss Pavlova was practicing a difficult ballet pose and fell against the bookcase? I don't know, would she really be practicing ballet on the same night she ran away from her ballet company? Alright then, it must have been you. You lost your temper and knocked them all over in a fit of rage. Not everything bad that happens on this ship is because of me, you know. Well, anyway, I'll set them all straight again in here too. I don't like seeing things in this array. Okay. Ah yes, they're displayed in this cabin too. Look, the SS Bureau has rules of passage. Yeah, not keep weapons or pets. We know. I suppose Miss Pavlova realized that she needed to keep the contents of her case a secret after she read this. Her special friend, I mean. I wonder where her friend has disappeared to now. It's probably having fun exploring the ship, I imagine. Just hope Seaman Stroganoff doesn't fit in. Find it and throw it overboard. Oh yes, so do I. Okay, these were not in there before. Naruhodo-san, are you there? Sorry, I'm right here. Yes, why? Oh, good. I thought you might have climbed into the wardrobe when I wasn't looking. There's no place like home. Believe me, I don't have some strange compulsion to jump inside every wardrobe I see, you know. Well, anyway, I'm not sure anyone could fit inside this one. It's full of beautiful outfits. I suppose they're all stage costumes. I was rather hoping we might find Miss Pavlova's friend hiding in there, but no such luck. There's one of these next to the bed in Kazuma's cabin too. Bell cord. She barely hesitated there, and she gave it a good tuck too. No, I didn't actually expect anyone to come. We don't want them to. We're trying to investigate in secret. So this ventilator connects to Kazuma's cabin next door. Yes, although what a fool a shipbuilder must be to open a ventilator into another room. Maybe it's so that if there's a gas leak next door, the occupant of this cabin would notice and raise the alarm? Or the occupants of both cabins would die of gas poisoning. That is a possibility. Anyway, last night Kazuma wrote that he saw a speckled band coming out of this ventilator. The bag? I know, okay. Can't be done. Well, I have looked at everything, haven't I? Ah, or maybe not. It would seem this teapot is empty. So the natural conclusion is that the Russians are very thirsty people. What's the name of that Russian tea that I used to have? Russian black tea. Jeez, what's the name again? No, black tea. I can't remember. Or maybe it'll come back to me when I'm not trying to think about it. Although, come to think of it, hold on. Or maybe just simply Russian or Grey. But there was a name, I just can't remember the name. There was a very specific name, but it's just not coming back to me right now. Yeah, bergamot and lemon flavor black tea. Yeah, it's so delicious, by the way. Well, yeah, there was a specific name, but I just can't remember the name right now. Anyway, so the natural conclusion is that the Russians are a very thirsty people. Or, because Miss Pavlova only came into this cabin last night, she hasn't had the chance to make any tea yet. I mean, it could be either. Why do I come back to Russians being thirsty? It's definitely that they're excessively thirsty. I'd lay 1,000 to 1 on it. You're rather obstinate, aren't you, Naruhodo-san? Well, I've inspected everything, haven't I? The case... all but the door, I guess. This cabin door has the same simple sort of bolted latch that our cabin door has. If the bolt's drawn across, there's no way anybody could enter the cabin from outside. Yes, it's not a particularly heavy-duty bolt, is it? But still, it wouldn't slide across of its own accord, would it? No, and the door is made of metal, so there's no chance of trickery using magnets to unbolt it from the outside. And it seals up perfectly too, to stop any seawater coming in. So you couldn't use the method you told me of passing a thread through a crack around the closed door either. I seem to know a lot of tricks for opening doors. I'm starting to see why they suspect me. I think I'm done. Anything new in here? First class cabin number 1. Yeah, that's our cabin. Yeah. The same dialogue as before. Okay, Osanaga. Ah, there he is, the idiot. Oh, it's Mr. Sholmes, look. Wow, you never know where he's going to turn up next, do you? He seems to be stealing a look at something as he sings to himself. I did it the great detective way. He's still singing. Do you think he hasn't noticed us? Oh, great, he's back. Or he's simply in extremely high spirits. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when the yard bit off more than it could chew. And through it all, when there was doubt, it's lucky her luck was about. Excuse me. I solved it all and I stood tall. I did it the great detective's way. Mr. Sholmes! Ah! What is it? You want to fight? Huh? Honestly, interrupting a fellow when he's singing. And I was just about to reach the climactic finish. Sorry, I thought you were never going to stop, so I figured now is as good a time as any. I very nearly dropped you to the floor with one of my famous right hooks. Alright, I get the picture. Now, could you put those fists away? Mr. Sholmes, you seemed to be examining something before we interrupted you. Ah, yes, that. I was immersed in study of the ship's log as penned by the stockily built crewman who is usually on guard here. Oh yes, the ship's log. And did you find out anything useful from it? Well, after 2 AM this morning, the majority of the entries are blank. Which means that there was nothing to report, nothing of note happened, so... You truly are a student from the land of the rising sun. You've been utterly blinded by it. Sorry? Your logic, my boy, is inverted. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Observe the other pages and all shall become clear. It would seem the same crewman oft stands sentry in this first-class passageway, and he has an almost religious practice of recording nothing to report every half hour. Oh, he writes that in every 30 minutes. Nothing to report? Precisely. Put simply, the seaman writes nothing to report when there is just that. And yet, the ship's log from last night is largely blank. He didn't even write nothing to report. Do you mean... Yes, there were circumstances afoot last night which led to the seaman being absent from his post. He had left his post, I guess, to help smuggle the lady on board. He is the guy who helped her, I suppose. I think she did mention something like there being some help or something, or that she was an angel that descended onto the boat or something. She did not want to incriminate him, perhaps, because he seemed to be very intent on protecting her and her identity and so on and so forth before, so... What kind of circumstances? What happened? That remains a mystery for now, but we can be sure something significant took place. So significant that it caused the seaman to forget his regular habit of scribing nothing to report in the log. These are important details. I would stake my life on it. You must log the ship's log in your mental file. The ship's log has been entered into the court record. Now that deduction was worthy of a great detective. You're starting to understand what my way is, I see. What makes Sholmes' brilliance. Oh, ouch. What is it? Are you hurt? Oh, so he's not actually stupid. Oh, don't worry yourself. I seem to be afflicted with a throbbing head this morning for some reason, nothing more. Well, my friends, until our next encounter. He's still singing to himself. I can hear it as he wanders off down the passageway. Is something wrong, Susato-san? You seem lost in thought. It's just... well, I feel the same. Sorry? I can just imagine him dematerializing. Ever since I woke this morning, I've had something of a headache. A sort of continuous throbbing. Oh, you too? Everyone was put to sleep. By a gas or something. That door leads to the second class area. It's locked. I can't open it. No, well, that stands to reason. No one wants to let the murderer escape. Huh. Gosh, she gave me a very stern look when she said that. Well, are we done in this room or not? Miss Pavlova's cabin. This could be our chance. What? The burly sailor doesn't appear to be around at the moment. We could investigate every last inch of that cabin. I'm not sure if we could go that far, but we could certainly do with looking around more. I'm sure we could learn something. Okay, if they say so. Excuse me a second. Oops, something happened. Got something stuck at the back of my throat. It's really annoying. Ah, what's that? Shut down the engines immediately. Vessel sighted a quarter-mile fore. Full stop. Hard to starboard. All hands, brace for impact. What the... I think we're about to crash into another ship. What? Susato-san, are you alright? Are you injured at all? I think I'm fine, thank you, Naruhodo-san. Fuck it, everyone gonna die. It looks like we avoided a collision. And now the books have fallen again, like the night before. So that must have been something similar maybe the night before. Maybe because they stopped the ship so that she could climb on board, perhaps. No? That might have been why the books were fallen over. I think, yes, the ship has come to a stop. Oh my goodness, what about you, Naruhodo-san? Are you hurt? No, I'm fine. Hello, is anybody in there? Shout if you need assistance. That sounds like... Inspector Osanaga. Is that you in there, Naruhodo-san? Unbolt the door, quickly! What? The bolt? Look at that! The door's bolted. Did you do that, Susato-san? No, I didn't touch it. Well, that's strange. It's the movement of the ship, and that's the same thing that happened to their cabin the night before. The door was not closed, actually. The door closed after the murder took place. And look at all the books. They're just like they were before again. It was an inside job. Naruhodo-san, aren't you going to open the door and let the inspector in? Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. More like, Naruhodo-san, aren't you going to open the door and let the inspector in? I'd better tidy this place up first. Our violent emergency stop had solved one mystery, at least in a very vivid way. But I knew that what awaited us on the other side of the cabin door would not be pleasant. I hurried around tidying up the cabin with a new sense of foreboding in my heart. Oh, we got through another part apparently. This one was not as long as the others. Investigation Part 3. Somehow the door to the cabin we were in ended up bolted after we made an emergency stop. Susato-san took a deep breath, then gently slid back the bolt. Ah, okay, there's no trial part apparently to this case. Okay, I did not spoil myself the end, but just wanted to know how far ahead I am in this case. You gonna walk the plank. You, what are you doing in Miss Pavlova's quarters? Miss Pavlova? How did you know that it was Miss Pavlova, huh? You both look unhurt. Good. Yes, we're fine, thank you. What on earth happened? We heard something about how we were going to collide with another ship. Yes, it appears to have been a false report, though. Oh, how did that happen? There's a dense fog outside, so it's extremely difficult to see. Someone must have thought he saw a ship ahead. This person obviously triggered the alarm, and that's why we made an emergency stop. Everything is chaos. Passengers are screaming. Crew are running everywhere. This first class area is the only quiet part of the ship at the moment. Oh, I see. Someone triggered the alarm. Does that mean that someone pressed that button outside? Ah, you wicked intruder. Dressed all in black, you are the devil. Sorry, me? I've been called a lot of things before, but devil is a first. You opened my traveling case. How could you? What? No, we didn't touch it. That's right, Miss Pavlova. It was already open when we came into your cabin. Inspector! Yes? Arrest this man. I know he did it. He is a criminal. Is it not enough that he has killed a man? Duh! And he is a stowaway as well. If Vixen promises not to steal chicken, do you believe? Take him away. He is a trespasser as well as everything else. Is that another bot that followed, or is that someone I should really say thank you to? Because there are a lot of bots doing that lately. Stowing away, trespassing, killing. She's right. You are a devil. It doesn't look good, does it? There is a cell below deck. Throw him in. Tomorrow we dock in Hong Kong. Then we give you straight to police. Wait, a cell? Please, Inspector Hosonaga, is there nothing you can do? This is a Russian vessel. I really have no jurisdiction here. After my last effort to appeal to the captain's good nature, I think I'm out of options. This is terrible. This is a real crisis. I've got to find a solution. Immediately. I just need to keep calm and focus on the task at hand, which is investigating. Don't touch my things! You want me to show you where crawfish hibernates? Aiya! Why me? Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think you're doing? I was looking at the ventilation! Wow, everyone's attacking me, and I was just starting to think she was my friend. Isn't there anyone who can help me out of this mess? Please, just give me a little more time. I do nothing for you except show you way to ship's prison cell. He knows our identity, so he's covering for her at the same time. Maybe I can blackmail him with that, but I'm innocent. I didn't kill anyone. And trespassing and stowing away? Well, you know, sometimes life can lead you down some unusual avenues and, well... Enough, you are guilty. Ship's cell is only place fit for you. Come on, there has to be someone, some savior to rescue me from this crisis. He's just hanging from the coat rack. From the coat hanger. What the? What are you doing up there? Mr. Sholmes! And he's wearing the tiara. Naturally, I was analyzing what a weight of 20,000 rubles feels like on one's head. He's just hanging out. Have I not told you that as a detective it is my business to know what other people do not? This isn't mere tomfoolery, my boy. Oh, no, no. Well, why were you hanging from that hook before then? Isn't it obvious? To properly assess the weight of the 20,000 rubles, naturally. I wish to determine if it would bend that conceited-looking hook on the wall so full of brag and bounce. I never know whether to take this man seriously or not. You again, the great detective. Inspector, I confess I've been looking for you. I have something to report to you most urgently. Well, you might try looking for somewhere other than a hook on the wall next time. What is to report? Speak! An urgent report from a great detective can mean but one thing. Yes, the case of the curious murder that took place last night here on this vessel, the steamship Buria, has been solved by me, naturally. What, really? Yes, I have eliminated all other possibilities. No other explanations exist. I'm sure there is one. The right one. That exists besides yours. So allow me to eliminate all your minds. For I am about to reveal my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Ha! You have solved it? Even Hedgehog understands this case. We all knew who was responsible for killing student boy this morning when we found criminal in wardrobe. It is the stowaway and he has handcuffs to prove it. I didn't do it! The trouble is, there doesn't appear to be anyone else who could have killed the victim. Because as everyone knows, the cabin door was bolted shut from the inside. That means the culprit must be someone who was inside the cabin. It's what's called a locked room mystery in detective stories. Locked room, that is point! The room was locked. Well, I can't deny that. There's no way the bolt could have been drawn across from outside the cabin. You are all quite mistaken. The cabin next door is not a so-called locked room at all. What? Oh yes, there is another entrance. An entrance used last night by the culprit in order to gain access to the cabin despite the bolted door. What other entrance? We never discovered one. Why, it gapes open-mouthed at you even as we speak. Well, that's what I thought initially, but now that we know that the door just locked itself up when the ship slowed down, I'm not so sure anymore. The ventilator, man. The ventilator? You think this is funny? I cannot even put my arm through that hole. That's because your arms are as thick as tree trunks. You're suggesting that the culprit entered and left the victim's cabin through that tiny opening? It's not possible. But it is. And last night, the victim even witnessed the intruder in the act of passing through the ventilator. Mr. Sholmes, do you mean... Are you referring to the words Kazuma-sama wrote in his diary? 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Precisely, my dear madam. But what does it mean? What is this speckled band? The answer to that particular conundrum is in this very cabin. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? There is a distinct element of danger, but fear not, I am ready. What I am about to expose for you all to see will shock you to your cores. Behold! Yeah! Ow, what the? Okay, it was a snake. Allow me to introduce you all to the band. The speckled band. A snake? Indubitably. Mr. Sholmes, just one thing. Pray, what troubles you? Well, that snake isn't really speckled, is it? It looks more stripy, wouldn't you say? Yes, you're right. I think in this case you'd have to call it the stripy band. The striped band, yeah. Or something. Wouldn't you? You both see and observe with distinction. However, do you not think that it's precisely the trap into which the culprit wishes you to fall? Oh my goodness, really? It's a trap? How exactly? I think perhaps it is time I explained the intricacies of my train of thought. Are you ready, Miss Pavlova? I'm sorry for the young man who died, but that is all. His death is nothing to do with me. This whole thing is nothing to do with me. There are two conclusions I have drawn from the facts. Number one, last night your friend infiltrated the victim's cabin. And number two, that same friend was responsible for the victim losing his life. No. She's turned as white as a bowl of rice again. Sholmes must be right. He's hit the nail on the head. This young woman's friend killed Mr. Asogi? It looks like he can't speak with that snake coiled around his head. I would advise as little movement as possible, Seaman. You wouldn't want the fangs on that long friend of yours in your neck. So everyone, let us begin. Sherlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Oh, here we go again. The game is afoot. Miss Pavlova, moments ago you claimed the following. His death is nothing to do with me. This whole thing is nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, your aching heart smarts with pain. And it is that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend with which you boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspected, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. And yet, that fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations on the night in question tell of a speckled band, whereas, regrettably, this specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we then give, pray? What was this sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night? No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this. Oh, but it does. You have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Wait, what? What is it? Yes, that which you are trying but failing to conceal can only be the snake's sloughed skin. Oh, okay. Evidently, after the subtle and horrid crime, this most deadly friend of yours shed its original skin, no? I don't know what you are talking about. Last night, through the ventilator visible in this cabin, your then speckled friend slithered next door. Using the bell cord on the other side as a bridge, the serpent silently descended into the victim's quarters. In the dim light, it appeared to the young gentleman who was about to lose his life as a speckled band. In summary, the nature of this friend of yours which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime is a rare breed of snake whose markings change each time it sloughs its skin. A snake so dreadful we can only imagine it would be found in the deepest depths of India. Well, you know what? It's not that crazy of an idea. But we already know that the guy died from a severed neck or something. Unless he was constricted, I guess, by the snake, not bitten. Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of the victim. Ah, okay, battery depleted on my controller. Ah, that's annoying. I need my charging cable, wherever it is. Where did I put it? That's a problem. That's a problem. What did I do with this cable? Or is it there, perhaps? Yes, okay, I have it. Ah, the snake whacked him. Strangled him is what I would have thought, perhaps. Alright. Okay. Should be back in business. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data of which I have been apprised, it would appear there were no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime. Oh no, could there be? Yes, an examination of the deceased's body will prove the cause of death conclusively. They said no marks, and I can assure you strangling people leaves marks. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a fair point. And that wouldn't explain the... What was it? Shoe shine? The traces on the floor? Piece of small glass object and what looks like a scuff mark made by Kazuma's shoes were found by the victim's body. Yeah. The almost but not quite imperceptible puncture wounds left by the venomous fangs will seal the truth. Yes, the vestiges of the snake bite delivered by your terrifying friend. This makes no sense. Okie dokie. There is no point feigning ignorance, Miss Pavlova. After the incident, you endeavored to hide everything, didn't you? But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right, you hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case. When we first met in this cabin, it came to my attention that your case moved periodically. Your serpent assassin was restless inside, no doubt. You don't... It is telling that the victim made note of a low whistling sound that he heard minutes before his end. That was your signal, was it not? The sound you had used to train your serpent friend. To train? Indeed, you'd put the serpent through this ventilator and wait. After a period, you'd summon it back with a whistle. You couldn't know if the animal had done its duty, so you would listen for signs of life next door. If the victim appeared not to have been dispatched, you'd release the snake once more. Do you deny the snake has undergone such training? It's not true. Having slithered through the ventilator and down the bell cord, the creature needed only to sink its fangs in once. And its venom would course through the victim's veins, ending his existence forever. That is the true nature of the speckled band that took the poor young man's life. There can be no doubt my logic is infallible. Okay, we know that not to be the case. This concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of the speckled band. Miss Pavlova has trained her pet snake as a killing machine. There on the floor you will observe a saucer of milk. The promise of food is the key to training any creature. Incredible! You've solved the mystery! Amazing! Your great deduction really lives up to its name. I see now why Sherlock Holmes has become such a household name. My dear man, it was nothing remarkable. As the Russians say, I could have done it with one left hand. Could I venture an opinion, Mr. Holmes? But of course, what's on your mind? It's just, about your deductions before, some things don't quite make sense to me. I welcome questions as to my method, and will answer both loudly and proudly. Oh, well, good. First of all, snakes are egg-laying creatures, part of the reptile family. You are well informed, madam. And reptiles, don't drink milk. Ah. It's really only mammals that like to drink milk, you see. So, I'm not sure it would be possible to train a snake using milk as a reward. No matter. No doubt Miss Pavlova used some other treat to encourage her pet to do her bidding. Milk was merely an example. The logic holds. Well, there is something else. Snakes have no ears. Ah? Yes, so I'm not sure it would really be possible to signal to a snake by whistling. But madam, what of the tales of from Arabia? Have you not heard of the snakes that dance to the sound of a flute? I think perhaps the performers play their music in time with the snake's natural movements. Oh, I see. No hands, no feet, no ears? These creatures are so inept as to be practically useless. Don't take it out on the snakes, Mr. Holmes. There is one other thing. You have more? Snakes use the scales on their bellies to propel themselves. So, I'm not really sure that a snake could manage to climb up a flat bell cord like the ones in these cabins. That it should try harder. Please, don't be angry with me, Mr. Holmes. The point is, even if the snake had gone through the ventilator to the next door cabin, it couldn't have come back without help. What I'm trying to say is that there are a number of reasons why it's difficult to imagine the snake could have had a part in this. Poor guy. I think we need to step in and help again, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh no, you don't mean... Yes, we need to modify Mr. Sholm's latest deductions and turn them into the great ones they ought to be. I had a feeling that was coming. Alright, let's give it a try. Just what I was waiting for, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, right. So cast your eyes down to your wrists again. What? How does he keep doing that? You've done it again. Your handcuffs are gone. Where did they go? Fear not, I shall see they're restored after our work is done. I really wish you'd leave them off. Now everyone, let us begin. Sherlock Holmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Holmes. Miss Pavlova, moments ago you claimed the following. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing is nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, your aching heart smarts with pain. She does have a pained expression on her face. Yes, that's true. She looks as though Kazuma-sama's death is weighing heavily on her mind. But you're not sure Mr. Holmes has read her quite correctly, is that it? Could there be some other way to interpret her expression then? Let's take a moment and really look very closely at Miss Pavlova. Claw scratch. Oh, Naruhodo-san, look! That looks like a very painful wound. It looks like a scratch made by some kind of small animal. And fairly recently too. Well, whatever scratched her doesn't appear to be around here. Snakes don't scratch. They bite, but they don't scratch, so... It's a rat. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, that claw scratch smarts with pain. Indeed, and simple observation reveals that the wound is fresh. Miss Pavlova, did you in fact receive that scratch sometime last night? Ah! When I think about the young man who died next door, I feel so sad. And when I am sad, the pain from this wound is worse. And it is that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend with which you boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspected, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. It seems likely that the scratch mark on the back of Miss Pavlova's hand was made by this friend of hers, doesn't it? Except, snakes don't have claws, do they? No, they don't. They don't even have hands or feet on which claws might grow. Well then, if that snake isn't her pet, what is? What's the true identity of this friend of hers? We should follow her gaze, Naruhodo-san. That's where we'll find the answer. They still haven't gotten the snake off that dude's head yet. It's perfectly fine where it is. It's a cat? Ah, okay. Ah, look at the photograph in this frame. This must be something Miss Pavlova brought with her when she ran away. She's exceptionally beautiful, isn't she? Yes, that's true, but personally, it's the little black creature she's holding that's caught my eye. Maybe we'd better take a closer look at this. Look at the little cat Miss Pavlova is cuddling here. Oh, what a cute little kitten. It could vie with you, couldn't it, Naruhodo-san, for the blackest outfit? A black kitten. And from the look of this picture, at least, Miss Pavlova seems very attached to it. Without doubt, your friend is the little kitten we see before us. Yes, the scratch on the back of your hand makes that abundantly clear. Oh no! The whereabouts of this black kitten isn't clear, but what is clear? The snake ate the cat! Is that you brought the animal with you when you ran away, didn't you? Ah! Over-the-top reaction, again. Darka is my best friend. I couldn't leave her behind. Darka would appear to be a Russian blue. And yet, that fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations on the night in question tell of a speckled band. Whereas, regrettably, this specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we then give, pray? What was this sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night? Oh, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this. Oh, but it does. You have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. The cat found it and brought it back, no? Or is it a slouch skin? Anyway. Did you see that? She just took something out of her pocket and hid it behind her back. If she'd just left it in her pocket, no one would have ever known. Oh yes, ploys like that are Mr. Sholm's specialty. He's ever so cleverly forced her to reveal something. I thought deduction was his specialty, or maybe making me believe that was a ploy too. Anyway, I find it hard to believe that's the skin of a snake. In which case, just what is Miss Pavlova hiding behind her back? It's a cat toy? Well, it is speckled, and it is a band, but what is it? It seems to be soft and fluffy, a long piece of cloth of some sort. And that looks like a handle at one end. I think it may be a cat's toy. This sort is common in the West, apparently. How is that a toy for cats? Cats like to chase the band around and paw at it. Kittens in particular love that sort of play. You only need to wave it in front of them, and they pounce to catch it. Haha, that sounds positively adorable. But she may have been dangling it out of the ventilator thing, though. Yes, the thing you are trying but failing to conceal is, a cat's toy. Precisely, in the true nature of the now infamous speckled band. And it was this toy that you dangled through the ventilator. You waved it around, I presume. Naturally, the victim could not fail to notice it. But why? For what reason? My dear boy, there can be only one answer to that. The cat was in there and she was trying to get it to come back, maybe? It didn't necessarily go into the cabinet per se. Maybe it was simply in the hole, maybe that's between the two rooms. After a feline friend disappeared through the ventilator into the neighboring cabin, Miss Pavlova attempted to use the speckled cat's toy to incite the creature to return. In summary, the nature of this friend of Miss Pavlova's, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a blithesome Russian blue breed of cat by the name of Darka. Okay, well that one is correct at the very least. A truly troublesome feline young Darka is proving to be. She must be caged once found. You will forgive us for borrowing the photograph of your pet, Miss Pavlova. The photograph of Miss Pavlova and Darka has been entered into the court record. It was after I gave her food last night. That's when it happened. She scratched the back of my hand and then ran up the bell cord. Before I could do anything, she had disappeared through the ventilator. Darka, she is so naughty. Solved. How Mr. Asogi died. Death by a venomous snake's bite. Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data of which I have been apprised, it would appear there were no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. What Mr. Sholmes says is true. There were no signs of a wound anywhere on Kazuma-sama's body. That's right, but Mr. Sholmes seems to be unaware of one very important detail. Kazuma wasn't poisoned. Yes, it would seem so. Let's give him the information he's missing now. It was this one. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by the post-mortem report. Ah yes, I knew it was one or the other. His neck was... Indeed, the breaking of the cervical vertebrae is fatal. Only that Goliath would be strong enough to survive that. Seaman Stroganoff isn't some immortal freak, you know. The jury is out. Anyway, we have on good authority that the victim's neck was broken. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime. Oh no, could there be? Yes, an examination of the deceased's body will prove the cause of death conclusively. Kazuma died because his neck was broken. In other words, he was probably struck by something or someone. Yes, that's a distinct possibility. As of yet, no weapon has been found, though. Presumably Darka didn't silently creep up behind Kazuma and deal him a fatal blow. I suppose it's possible that he had a fall and hit the ground awkwardly. Could have been a terrible act of misfortune that he broke his neck completely by accident. Oh yes, a bad fall could explain it. It's rather hard to believe of Kazuma-sama, though. He wasn't a clumsy man. Well, we need to fix this deduction somehow. Is there anything from the scene that can explain what happened? I think it's this. Yes, an examination of the mark on the floor will prove the cause of death conclusively. This particular mark, so prominently visible next to the victim's body, is a deposit of shoe polish. Shoe polish? Indeed, positively identified by a little analysis device I constructed, which I carry now as a matter of course. Beeswax, tallow, and dye were my results. The undeniable ingredients of shoe polish. And the color of the polish is a perfect match to the color of Mr. Asogi's lace leather shoes. Looking at this mark, it's not hard to imagine what happened. For some reason, Mr. Asogi must have caught his foot at that point on the floor and tripped. Please, no. And by a dreadful turn of misfortune, caught his neck against some immovable object as he fell to the floor. He tripped on the cat, maybe, because that seems to be part of the bell that the cat would have around its neck in the picture. I thought at first that it looked like a bell. Suffering a fatal blow to the spine, the victim's vertebrae shattered, and in that instant, he lost his life. No! I don't know. I don't know anything about this. Is that really true, Miss Pavlova? What about the evidence left at the scene where Mr. Asogi lost his life? Yes, the facts are as clear as day to me. You did all you could to conceal the incriminating evidence. But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right, you hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case. I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama merely tripped over and now he's no more? It can't be true. I refuse to accept it. I know it's hard to believe, but the mark on the floor does seem to suggest that that's what happened. But, and if this part of Mr. Shulm's deduction is right, Miss Pavlova is trying to hide some evidence that would prove it. Here in this cabin, somewhere in the direction that she just cast her eyes. Where, I wonder? Let's have a good look around. The answer must be here somewhere. What is that? That mark here. This is where Miss Pavlova hid her friend. That's right, and it wasn't a snake after all. No, it was that little kitten she calls Darka. Not that it's anywhere to be seen now. It seems to have let itself out of the case and gone exploring. I expect it's wrapped itself around someone's head somewhere, trying to make new friends. Either that, or it's scratching their hand to pieces. The point is, where has it got to? The waste paper basket? At last, under the paper? Miss Pavlova only started occupying this cabin late last night. Presumably there is not much rubbish in there yet. Well, but yeah, they already looked through it. Ah, yeah, it's the other half of the bell. Oh, what's that? It's a broken piece of glass, isn't it? Yes, it is, and I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. If it looks familiar, perhaps it's more than your mind simply playing tricks on you. That's right, you hit the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that waste paper basket. Ah. Here we have a fragment of some intricate glass object, it would seem. One that has a familiar air, in fact. Precisely, we found another piece of broken glass on the floor in Mr. Asogi's cabin. And as you can see, the two pieces fit together perfectly. Oh no! So, Miss Pavlova, shall we consider what this tells us? Why would it be that part of this glass object, which was evidently broken at the scene of the victim's death, should be found in the waste paper basket in your cabin? Kia! You're well acquainted with this glass, but are you not? I don't know, and that hushed Russian accent of yours won't save you this time, dear girl. Why? Because we have conclusive evidence linking you to the bell in question. What? Take it away, Mr. Naruhodo. Actually, he doesn't know himself. Yes, the evidence linking Miss Pavlova and the little glass bell, that would be... If you look at this photograph, you can clearly see, hanging from Darka's collar, the very glass bell in question. The truth has caught up with you, Miss Pavlova. The young man who lost his life last night did so after a truly inauspicious fall. And the cause of that fateful stumble? Your absent feline friend, Darka. That still doesn't explain if she went into the room and wrote those words on the floor, how she got back out and the door closed itself. I mean, I assume that the door closing itself had to be if the ship stopped somehow when she came on board, if she was only on board the night before. I couldn't tell anyone. I'm sorry. Death by tripping over a cat. Who wrote garderobe on the floor then? Why don't you tell us now, Miss Pavlova? Tell us exactly what happened last night. It was a little after 1 in the morning. It was so late, but I hadn't had time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands. People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments. She was so fast, she disappeared through the ventilator before I could stop her. And that is how you acquired the rather nasty wound on the back of your hand, I take it. Yes, and I read the rules on the wall. I knew that I was not allowed Darka with me. Yes, modern science suggests that animals can carry infectious diseases. It's a precaution, really. So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin. It was very quiet. I was sure if someone was there, he must be sleeping. So at that point, you thought it's safe to try to lure the kitten back again by dangling the end of the toy through the ventilator and into the adjoining cabin. Darka always loves this toy. But it didn't work. Nothing worked. I tried using our favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return. So the faint whistling sound Kazuma wrote about in his diary was Miss Pavlova trying to retrieve her pet. Cats have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened. Yeah, so there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she had calmed down. But then... I nearly passed out with shock. I heard her cry out and then Oh, it was such a dreadful bang. Then afterwards, nothing. It was totally silent. Kazuma was. From the appearance of the brown mark on the floor, it seems likely that what you heard was the victim stepping on the glass bed and tripping up. The SS Buria is a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. And if Mr. Asogi was already off balance as a result of the ship lurching when the kitten got under his feet, the combination of unfortunate factors could easily have caused him to fall over. But what became of the kitten afterwards? In the end, I managed to get her to come back through the ventilator. Yet Darka is nowhere to be seen. I must have forgotten to lock my case, and now she's disappeared again. Gracious, that cat is as insufferably restless as I am. Well, he knows something about himself at least. When I woke this morning, I heard that a young man in the cabin next to mine had died, but I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened. I was too scared. Scared that they would send me back. Oh, hold on a minute. What about the snake? You're right, where is it? If the snake isn't your friend, Miss Pavlova, then whose is it, and where did it come from? What on earth is such a dangerous creature doing on board this ship? It's his pet. Oh, I didn't say? Snake is my friend. His name is Piroshko. What? What? That snake belongs to you? He escaped from a cage when emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. I did not expect to find him in here. Yes, how did that snake get into this cabin? But animals are not permitted on board. Ah, we are at sea for 1 year. You want to be so long without close friend? Without someone who understands? Couldn't you find someone a little more human who understands you better? But my dear burly fellow, a gargantuan venomous snake, surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting everyone in. No venom, Piroshko does not have venom. He is harmless, very long, but very gentle. He is adorable, like Granny. It's venomless? Yes, no, he is hungry. So he is in bad mood, but once I feed him, you will see big smile. And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose? Ah, like they say, they milk chickens. Ridiculous, snakes that drink milk are only in stupid stories. Piroshko eats mouses. Big fat round mouses. Mouses? Not mice. Ah, oh, so... is that what the mouse trap in the passageway out there is for? Of course! How else can I catch my friend's favorite food? Nothing says top of the food chain like the look in their eyes right now. Mouses is. It refuses to drink milk, it can't hear a whistle, it can't climb up a bell cord, and it's not even venomous. How to choose? Did something so inept to land this towering wall? It's not my fault, I do not make up stories. My Piroshko has nothing to do with this incident. So that's what happened. That's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death. Some part of the mystery isn't solved yet, though. The Russian word on the floor. I mean, who wrote that? Or maybe because they wanted. Or maybe he actually wrote it himself so that the people on board would understand it and think to look through the wardrobe so that I would not remain locked inside and starving until the end of the trip and die from starvation, maybe? Come to think of it. Miss Pavlova, I understand the difficult situation you found yourself in, and I do sympathize. But please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with lies, then then no matter what the circumstances, I cannot forgive you. But what are you talking about, Miss Mikotoba? What lies? Miss Pavlova just confessed everything. It was just a series of unfortunate events, an accident. I'm no great detective like Mr. Sholmes. I don't have a gift for knowing the truth. But even I can see that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? To be perfectly honest, yes. The thought plickens. There's a discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure of it. I just can't quite put my finger on it. I confess, I was intending to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter. Oh? I am only present here for a very specific reason. The truth is, you, Mr. Naruhodo, are simply a distraction. A distraction? I do hope you've not been finding your shackles too uncomfortable. Ah, not again! When did he do that? Especially as they're on your wrists as a result of my intervention. I was rather hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call. You were, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, but I overlooked one important detail. The deceased young man who was a very close companion of yours, was he not? Yes, Kazuma was my closest friend. I owed him my freedom even. In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. No further distractions. You must uncover the real truth here, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, whatever that may be. The key to this is the discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. The truth about how you really died. About how that scene in your cabin really came to be. Alright, I'll see what I can do. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo. So then, shall we begin? What we should ponder first is the victim who lost his life in a cabin that was bolted shut from the inside. Was this truly an unfortunate accident? Or was it in fact no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance. But we've already established it, haven't we? The man tripped over the kitten that had climbed into this cabin via the ventilator. Tragic, yes, but still an accident. Wait, let's just take a step back. It doesn't make sense if that's really what happened, does it? I'm going to have to ask you to spell it out for me, I'm afraid. It's starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the facts and Miss Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right there in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident. Let us show our hand, Mr. Naruhodo. Time to present the evidence. It's this one? No. The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There is no way that Mr. Asogi could have left this message on the floor. Well, assuming he didn't speak Russian, yeah, I guess. That script, it's Russian, isn't it? Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe. I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language, Japanese in this case. She killed him to take attention away from herself? I don't know, maybe. Could have been a motive, I guess. So as to not be sent back. Or maybe she didn't kill him, maybe it was indeed an accident, but she did not call the cat back through the ventilator. She went into the room, maybe, and wrote that down to attract suspicion to someone else so that the issue of her cat would not be investigated at all, I guess. And then maybe, I mean, she could probably have faked an alarm that would have caused the ship to slow down brutally so that the door would close up again. I don't know, it's just an idea. Maybe he was studying Russian. It is a simple language. He could have picked it up very fast. That doesn't seem likely. That's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not. Sorry? What do you mean? Exactly what I said before. He died on the spot anyway. He wouldn't have been able to leave a message on the floor. I think that's what he's getting at. There is no way that Mr. Asogi could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why is clearly explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. Instant death. Ah. Which means after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything because he was already dead. So it was written by someone else, and it was written by someone who knows Russian. That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asogi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there if what Miss Pavlova told us was true. What? So Susato-san has noticed it too then. Putting this message on the floor aside, there's something else that gives the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves this was no accident. In other words... here I must admit, I'm not exactly sure what they want from me. The mark on the floor? The shoe shine, yeah. I would imagine. This piece of broken glass next to the mark on the floor. But that's the glass bell the kitten had around its neck. We already know all about that. Yeah, if she never went into the cabin, why would she throw away the piece of the broken bell, maybe? Like hiding it. Like, because she knew that it was gonna point to her. But then again, if she was in the cabin, she could have picked up this piece as well. So... It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. So we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in that logic? Unfortunately, there is a very big flaw. A fatal flaw. What? If that's really what happened, then how did one half of the bell end up back here in this cabin? Yes, remember that we found the other half of the glass bell in that waste paper basket? Yeah, I guess so. It wouldn't have come back with... through the ventilator with half the bell around his neck because it wouldn't have held to whatever it was attached to around his neck. Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh no! Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. That when Mr. Asogi died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. And that same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth. In order to cover up his or her own guilt. Yeah! Yes, there was someone else present in Mr. Asogi's. What the? You are wasting time. Someone else was there? Duh, of course, we know this. What are you talking about? Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out. Oh, yes. And only other person in cabin when young student died was you. It's true, I was in the cabin when it happened. You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the details. But I don't know Russian, there's no way I would have left that message. Not would have, there's no way you could have left that message, to be precise about the details. Would you mind? Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying, the person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor, in an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep in there the entire time. And then, the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen to the floor for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Asogi really died. But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of the bell away? Well, that's what I thought also. Leaving half behind was always going to raise questions. Yes, well, it was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. The single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would barely have cast any light onto the floor there. Little wonder then that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of the tiny item. You all suspect me, don't you? Seaman Stroganoff. Nina is woman of sea. She is daughter of strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills as she went away to join ballet company. But before, she was dancer on the ship, a member of ship's band. You do not accuse ship's angel of being criminal. Ah, so that's it. You say that when young student died, Nina was there in his cabin. But that is not possible. I give my tooth. I give my tooth? Well, this is all most interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure? You are a great detective, you should know. Look truth in eyes, cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into cabin, not Nina, not anyone. Or you want to tell me that killer can walk through locked doors? Niet! It's impossible. He's right. But wait, I've read about this in detective stories. People often tie thread around door latches so they can open and close them from the outside. Thread? Are you stupid? These bulkheads are no barn doors. Certainly not. These are watertight doors as one would expect to find on any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel with not a gap inside. No threads or needles or magnets could have been used. Yo, Stroganoff did it. No, of course not. I thought so too. But wait, it closed itself by itself earlier. But Mr. Naruhodo suggested it earlier, so Sado-san, how could you shift it onto me like that? So Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside. Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind having been used before. I don't believe it. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? A way to shut the bolt of the cabin door from the outside? One way does spring to mind, yes. Do you really know what Mr. Sholmes means, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, and so should you, because we've seen it happen. Indeed we have, so would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruhodo? That thing. But it's not gonna be highlighted. I think that's it. That's the communicator, I guess. They did the pipes that they used to communicate on the ship. This is it. This shows how it was done. No? It certainly shows how something was done. I concur. Okay. That's not it. It's an excellent way to show how easy it is to jump to the wrong conclusion. Oh. But a truly dismal way to show how the bolt could be made to slide shut from outside the cabin. Did you really need to say truly dismal? The bell maybe. No? I thought if you alerted the ship, watch out, there's a ship that we will collide with or something. And if she was on ships before for many years as a dancer, she would know. If she was on this ship, she would know of the fact that when the ship slows down like that, that the bolts tend to shut themselves. Okay, yeah, okay, that's not it then. That's not the bell either. Or the books, the fact that they are tilted. Look at the bookcase there. Ah, yeah, okay. See how all the books and things on it have toppled over. That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before. Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over. I believe, yes, it's what's known as the force of inertia acting on the objects. Is there nothing Susato-san doesn't know? Or that isn't in our book at least? Well, whatever it's called, the same force that's pushed over those books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door. It was very obvious just after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not long before and we hadn't bolted the door. But then... Hello, is anybody in there? Shout if you need assistance! Oh, that sounds like... Inspector Hosonaga. Oh yes, that's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door. Yes, it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. Or the force of inertia, if you want to call it that. Are you trying to say that last night, after Mr. Asogi was killed... The SS Buria made another emergency stop? When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. Okay, I'm gonna stop here for today because it's getting late. I'll continue tomorrow in the afternoon, with tomorrow being Saturday. I think where they're going now is that if the ship had made a stop, we would remember it. But then I guess we're gonna have to say, but everyone was asleep. Part of the proof is that you did not write anything in the ship's log or whatever. It's gonna be something like that, I think. But anyway, I'll stop here for today. And so we'll continue tomorrow. Pretty sure we'll finish this case tomorrow, and we should have enough time to get well into the third case of the game then. And their headaches, yeah. They were put to sleep somehow, I believe. But yeah, adios. Thank you for watching. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.